Hey guys, it's Simon from Redline Motorsports. So today we have Suzuka. This is a 90-minute race, so this is more of a warm-up race with the weather conditions for our big 12-hour race we have on the 18th of April. So it'll be myself, Simon, boss man of Redline. We're going to be commentating tonight along with George. Hello, George.
How's it, Simon? How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, can't complain on this side. Excited for tonight's race.
Excellent, good stuff. Yeah, looking at the weather at the moment, it's yeah, we just I did a quick restart of the server, and it was dry a minute ago for the pre-practice, so we've got literally a minute 40 seconds of overtime before we go into the qualifying. So hopefully it might change, because obviously we've got it set as a weekend. So today is Friday according to the game. It is in real life as well. But yeah, also we are actually got Jesse in here as well. So hello, Jesse.
Hello, Simon, and hello, George. This is going to be very interesting race because there's nothing at stake here except pride. Can't wait to get going.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what's happening. Like I said, quick server restart. It was dry a moment ago. We just literally just restarted about sort of 4 minutes ago, and they've loaded back into this rain. So yes, it is set to random weather. So we'll see what's going to happen with obviously when it goes into qualifying in a minute. Hopefully it will be nice to them and maybe not be so wet. Because looking at the moment, it might not be a thunderstorm. So
that is. I was going to say that is the most unfortunate random to really get at a track like Suzuka, especially where you just are topping out in so many corners. I mean, 130R that we just saw on screen there, that's in the dry is scary. Now make that in the wet, as well as the little Casio chicane there as well. Those two corners catch people off in the dry and the wet would just be terrifying. So I'm hoping for the driver's sake it goes dry, but for the viewer's sake, I hope it stays wet.
Yes. Do you want to? We just pointed over to Samir there. One of our esports drivers just decided to spin out. Yeah, you can see obviously the track is absolutely waterlogged. So yeah, the guys obviously didn't prepare this, because I said literally just been doing the last sort of 40 minutes or so of dry practice, and then literally just been chucked straight into the wet. So we will just get back into the race. There we go, back into the race there. So yeah, qualifying is just about to start. So we'll see who's out first. Who is out first? And we'll try and get them on the screen there. So it looks like Prenter is currently out at the moment, so he'll be out the first one warm lap. So, well, looking at this weather, it might actually be in for the whole race. God. This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it always gets so tough to call as well. I mean, you could now be just going through a qualifying session thinking that perhaps the rain is going to stay for the race, going and setting up a whole rain setup, you know, thinking you're going to start on that, and then suddenly it's dry again. It's so unpredictable. It's one of my favorite parts about sim racing. And I think it going over to the rainy conditions here for the practice and now the qualifying might kind of indicate that we will have a wet start for the actual race.
Yeah, so these guys are really going to have to prepare for this. Like I said, this is basically a warm-up event for the 12-hour race we got on the 18th. So we've got the weather set to random, so we are going to be expecting a lot of changes with the weather in that 12-hour race. It will be one times progression, same as tonight's, to obviously try and replicate what the race will be like. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Who's saying server restart? I don't know if I don't think anyone's going to be doing a server restart now. We can literally continue how we are. We have got 4 splits running tonight. So we're obviously streaming the top split here. We obviously got 2 pro am splits and a am split as well running at the same time. So yeah, should have about 200 drivers total racing tonight. So quite a lot of people in there. But anyway, we'll stay on board with Prenter at the moment, because he's first out and he will be the first to do his hot lap. So we'll see what sort of times these guys are going to do. I will just let you guys know as well, we have got BOP put onto the Aston. 20 kilos added to the Aston, 20 kilos added to the AMG as well. From the testings we've done so far. It's just trying to sort of make the grid more mixed rather than everyone jumping into the cars that are going to really benefit from this track. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that then, Jesse and George? What's your outtakes on the BOP stuff?
Well, I mean, for me, I think it's fantastic. I think that it's great that not only can we manually change the BOP to make it more fitting to perhaps our drivers, our series, et cetera, and so forth, is the fact that we have done that and we are sort of experimenting today. This is the beauty of this 90-minute race, is that this, again, as I said in the intro, this is for pride. There's nothing else at stake here. It's a bit of a warm up, bit of a trial run, and it's a trial run for us as well as far as the BOP goes. We're hoping that that works. I assume it will work, and it's just going to create more fantastic racing and more varied racing.
100%, yeah. So
Yeah, on my side, I think I do like to see that you guys are playing around with those BOP things. I think it's been added in there for a reason. I think that it is going to be a sort of important part going forward into a lot of leagues and lobbies, especially when you can't just rely on developers to keep things completely balanced.
yeah, absolutely. So looks like Prento might not be getting a hot lap. He seems to be hitting a lot of traffic on his hot lap now. So we'll see what sort of times he's going to be getting. In the dry, we have got guys sort of get into the 158s. That is some serious quick times there at this track. So yeah, we'll see if these guys can get sort of. I don't know, what would you say the fastest lap should be in the wet here? You're talking about 202 or something, 203? What do you think would be possible?
I think maybe add almost 8 to 10 seconds onto those quick times. The 158 plus 10. I'm not really sure. 208 to me would seem kind of reasonable. It depends. It's hard for us to really gauge at how wet it looks out here. I mean, Brent has done quite a good job with his Ferrari to make things look kind of stable. The two spoon corners, things seem to get a little bit squiggly, but that's a difficult corner off camber as well. So it would be interesting to really see. I haven't had a lot of experience with a lot of these drivers here.
There we go.
16 there.
Yeah, so quite a bit off pace. He did have a bit of traffic in front of him. We've got the next guy, Vargo, behind. He's done a 218. So yeah, time's starting to come through. So yeah, looking at the moment, 216s at the moment. Obviously, yeah, looking at what you said there, we probably should be down to about the 208s at some point. So we just flick through at the moment. Unfortunately, as I said, these guys obviously didn't expect, as we can see, how bad the conditions are. Obviously going off the track there. Yeah, these guys obviously didn't expect how bad the conditions were going to be. Obviously from racing obviously most of the time in the dry, and then suddenly sort of getting this curveball, with these seriously wet conditions. But again, they're supposed to be prepared for it all. They should have spent a lot of time the last sort of few weeks getting their setups ready anyway for the 12-hour race. So yeah, they should be sort of have their wet setups, their dry setups, and yeah. So just looking at, so we actually got Gamo at the moment. He's taking a 215.7. So yeah, he's quite a lot off the pace at the moment. Looking at the obviously what the numbers we're looking at the moment, so it's about 208 is going to be a sort of fast lap. But yeah, I can't say I've actually raced in these conditions at Suzuka, so
yeah,
I couldn't really give these times right now.
I think that those sort of times depends really just how wet it is, and like we said, without being able to physically drive out here, these are the top split drivers. So to be honest, whatever they're going to start to get at the end of this will be what we can use going forward as sort of a benchmark on these kind of conditions. I mean, if it was like a light drizzle, then it could be, 10 seconds on, but, these look pretty wet. Plus, you've got all the spray coming up from other cars on track. There's how many? 45 cars on the grid at the moment. So quite a lot to deal with, plus the changing conditions, plus the changing grip levels. It will be interesting to see where they evolve to. I see Erbrich has done a 215.57. So maybe those are really kind of the baseline lap times to be done in these kind of conditions. It'll be interesting to see once everybody's kind of got a lap in. But yeah, I think that spoon where Parker's coming up to now on screen is going to be quite a dangerous corner if it continues to rain. You can just see it sort of off camber. You can't get on the power too early, but you need to get the power to get the run down before 130R, and it becomes quite a knife's edge battle as we see the times dropping down. Samad, he's done a 213.1.
Nice, yeah. So I think as obviously the dry line starts to set, you know, and the track gets more sort of bedded in, we should start to see a bit more time. So it doesn't look like the weather's going to be changing much. 60% rain, 60% wet is the track conditions. 15 degrees ambient, 15 degrees track temperatures. So yeah, it looks like qualifying isn't going to be changing from this conditions. So it'd be interesting to see what the race is going to bring, because again, this is obviously set over a weekend. So practice on the Friday, qualifying on Saturday, and the race on the Sunday in game. So we'll see what the race brings. Hopefully, I mean, we've seen it before. We've had rain during the qualifying and practice, and then the race has been completely bone dry, and that's really sort of messed things up. So this is one of the reasons why we sort of gave about 5 minutes, sort of like in between time, to allow the guys to adjust their setups, just in case we have these sort of curveballs chucked in there. So, but then again, it makes it really interesting for obviously the viewers as well, because and obviously us for spectators, because you know we get very surprised as well as what happens, because it's very, very random. So there's James
the Lexus. Parker. I was gonna just say the Lexus is one of those cars that you can also just have a look at in the rain. Quite a good rain car, as Zero actually goes and does a 2:12.609
just jump over to him,
in his Lexus. They are great cars to drive in the wet conditions. I know that Lexus drivers love them. Might help with the fact that in the dry, the Lexus eats through tires quite quickly. So I think the rain tires and the Lexus maybe work a little bit better than the dry tires on the Lexus.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, this is very interesting as well, because also so James Parker, he's decided to go for the McLaren this time round. He's going to be racing that in the 12-hour. And they've really dialed the setup in for that, so they've actually managed to get down to like a 158 in that car, which is pretty phenomenal. I was quite surprised when I played with James Parker's setup in the car, you know, how stable they made it. I mean, it was pretty impressive, his setup work. So yeah, so yeah, currently Zero is currently holding the lead at the moment with a 2:12, but again, next sort of 5 minutes, I'm guessing, is when it's all really going to get mixed up, as it usually does in the race. But just looking at the relatives at the moment, we've got sort of the top 10 with about sort of 2.4 seconds within each other at the moment. So like I said, this wet conditions have really thrown a curveball here, so a lot of guys probably didn't really expect to have these this serious wet track. Neither did us as the commentators either. I don't think we was expecting it to be this wet, but yeah, like I said, you never know. In the next sort of 4.5 minutes when it jumps over the race, we might actually see a dry track. It might be sunshine. We'll see. Kevin Zaclari, just seeing here. So how many people have actually bring up the timetables, you guys? You see the relatives there. So looks like everyone's pretty close there. 45s in the first sector, 58s. It looks like to be the good best number there for the second sector, and then the 29s for the third sector there. So yeah, so I think I should say in there, George, which just says about 158 is obviously really, really good lap times in the dry. So we're down by 14 seconds at the moment off of the pace in the wet here. So maybe this is the sort of pace we're looking to see, is around the 2:12, and maybe race pace probably around the 2:14, 2:15. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the next sort of 3 or 4 minutes. See if anyone can actually come in with a 2:10 or something.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, obviously the race will progress for a longer period of time than qualifying will. So that dry line that you might see start to pick up in qualifying will obviously be something to keep an eye out during the actual race as well, see if that develops. Also depends on what the rain decides to do. Does it get harder? Does it lighten up? Plenty of factors really for us to have here at Suzuka. And like you mentioned before, not something that we expected as commentators, but not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. A rain race at one of the fastest circuits in the world, definitely something to be excited about.
Absolutely, yeah. Just looking at the how overcast it is. I mean, this is proper storm weather here. So we'll see how this pans out. Hopefully, we don't have a full 90-minute race in these conditions. Hopefully, it is going to be dry, maybe a little bit of drizzle in between. So, like I said, again, this is obviously set up as random on the server, random conditions. So, as I said, who knows? Yeah, only the game can decide what's going to happen. Anyway, looking down a bit further down the list, I'm just seeing where else we've got this. We actually got 45 drivers in the lobby at the moment. We did have 50 sign up, so we're missing 5 at the moment. I don't think we're going to get too many more in. But do you want us, 45 is still a pretty good number for just a fun event. In one server anyway.
It's absolutely insane, and considering you've got splits going throughout, quite a lot of drivers committing themselves onto a Friday night to do some racing. And I'm glad that this top split has so many talented names and drivers in it to give us quite a showcase bit of entertainment.
Absolutely. So I'm just looking a bit further down the list here. So there's still a few people yet to set a lap time. So we've still got about 5 more people to set a lap times here. But looking at the bottom of the grid, we're about 7 seconds, just over 7 seconds off the pace here, down to P40 at the moment. So yeah, it's definitely sort of thrown a curveball to some of these people. Bless them. But that's all part of the fun of racing, isn't it? And obviously the weather. So.
And you know what, Simon? It's so easy to also just be a great sim driver and just not have a good time with rainy conditions. I mean, you could put in hours and hours of practice into the rain and still just find that it's not something that agrees with you, and you mistime a braking point and or put it on the grass and brake there, and suddenly the whole car breaks away and it goes into the wall. It's just one of those things. You either can drive in the rain, or you're average at it, or you just can't.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. So just looking at lap times now, so it's looking to be about a 2:12 is sort of the pace here at the moment in the wet. So yeah, that's about 14 seconds off of the dry pace that some of these guys can obviously achieve. So let's go. This is obviously the top split. We are running 4 splits tonight. So overall 4 servers. We have got 200 drivers connected to our servers. So yeah, hopefully the other guys in the other splits are having a better time. Probably got a dry conditions compared to this. I mean, we have seen this before through our season 2 when we were running 5 splits there. You know, different servers had, although they had the same random settings, server settings, they still had different conditions throughout. So some people were saying, oh, how can I be faster in my race today than a tier 1 driver, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, the tier 1s had rain, you know, you had dry tracks, and they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, just going to show how random it is, you know. So even just having the same server settings, you know, can really sort of throw off and give you different different results. So still on board with Santoro for a minute. So what we're going to do is I'm probably going to jump over to Kevin Saklari, because he is 5 temps up at the moment. We've got Zero, who's 6 temps up behind in P4 as well. So we'll just see if anything's going to materialise in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, both those drivers potentially could take pole position if they continue with what they had. Saklari making a little bit of an error, might have to be up to 0 to actually be the one. It's like he's 7 tenths up, 8 tenths up.
Yes, I'm going to jump over to 0 quickly actually, because it looks like Saklari did lose a bit.
Up.
This is interesting. Is this just our broadcasting tool lying to us again, or is this actually real? We'll find out in a minute. But he looks like he's about 7 temps up at the moment. He did, like I said, peak to 1 second up. So we'll stay with him for the moment. Let's see if there he is. He does. Yeah, there you go. 2:11.9. So he gets into there.
Simon, it's that Lexus in the wet. It actually just wanted to be a power boat when it was younger, and it was denied that opportunity, and now it can really shine in the rainy conditions.
Absolutely, yeah. Great stuff there. So that's looking at the pacing, guys. That's what we're looking for during these wet conditions. 2:11. So yeah, you can see how wet and waterlogged this track is. It's yeah, very wet. 60% rain, 60% wet, 15 degrees ambient and track temperatures. So we're going to see in the next sort of minute, once everyone gets back to the pits, when the session changes over, whether we actually got a wet or a dry race. Yeah, who knows? Are we going to play some bets quickly, guys? What are we going to say? Dry or wet race?
I say wet race.
Okay, I'm going to go for the dry race. What about you, Jesse?
Well, if one of you is going to pick the dry race and the other one's going to pick the wet race, then I don't really have a choice. I have to say it's going to be a bit of both. Very Jekyll and Hyde race, because that's all you've left me with, gentlemen. But I will pick that. And by the way, let it be said, the track conditions were improving there at the end. There was certainly I mean, it wasn't a dry line, but it was a less wet line, and it seemed to knock the times down a few seconds. So that was nice to see.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll see what happens here. So let me try and get the timing boards up for you guys, because it keeps doing this silly thing here. So I'll try and bring the timing boards up for you so you can see what's going on here. So yeah, 20 kilos of ballast has been added to the Aston and the AMG there. So we have got our current grid order there. I'll just have a quick scroll through and see where we are. So looks like one person hasn't set a lap time yet, but we are about 7.2 seconds off the pace down to P44. So it's interesting to see that with the 20 kilos of ballast, we've still got Santoro in P3 there in the Aston, and also Saklari with 20 kilos of ballast in the AMG in P4. So very interesting to see that the BOP seems to be working pretty well in these wet conditions. So let's jump over to drive. So
I'm very excited to see what kind of conditions when you get into the race here. It's always, I mean, it's the pre-excitement now, especially after seeing that we did. Oh
my God, it's even worse, isn't it? 70% rain, 70% wet.
Cars.
Wow. Now this is getting very interesting. So yeah, 70% rain, 70% wet, 16 degrees ambient, 17 degrees track temperatures at this moment of time. Yeah, you can see how miserable that is. Do you want us for the 12-hour race? It looks like we're going to have about 60 cars on the track for that, so we might have to play around with these settings and maybe just make it less extreme. I don't know how this is obviously going to affect people's performance, having so many cars on the track with these conditions. But we'll see nonetheless. Yeah, we're definitely in for an interesting race. We'll see what T1 brings now. We're obviously 45 cars on the track in these in this very heavy, wet race we have coming up.
I feel like I'm going to say it a couple of times, but there's quite a couple of interesting corners here at Suzuka, and T1 is definitely one of them. Make that a wet conditioned start with a big right-hander with trail braking and cars braking in different points, and it is going to be hella interesting out here tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. So, who would like to do the order of the rundown as I pan the camera down through the pit straight? Which one of you guys would like to take the chances of trying to not to butcher too many names?
I guess I'll put my name on the line. We don't have the beautiful voice of Ryan to assist us, so I feel like I will attempt it for you.
There we go. Okay, yeah. When you're ready.
Are we? I don't know if I have the same camera angle.
You don't know. It's right. You just pull the names and I will just pan it through. So.
Okay, so P1 we have Stefan 0, P2 Philippe Simard, position 3 Danilo Santoro, 4 Kevin Saklari, 5th Samir Ibrahimi, 5th Samir Ibrahimi,
yes.
6th Chris Huki, 7th Kieran Prenter, 8th Emil Stanchow, 9th Samuel Ratz, 10th Daniel Planau, 11th Vincent Erbich, 12th James Parker, 13th Darren King, 14th Jaroslav Hanzik, 15th Wolf Matushka, 16th Tarek Gamil, 17th Darlin Demov, 18th Ismail Labkroch.
We'd go with that. Yeah.
19th Mike Vierman, 20th Lumineer Zierman, 21st Maxim Yevanov, 22nd Akos Great Van, 23rd Marvin Vale, 24th Tobias Queck, 25th Matt Samuel, 26th Adam Sturven, 27th Peter Baintener, 28th Jules Sky, 28th Bruno Cadhill, 29th.
I don't know what's happened to my camera there. Something it just threw itself back. I do apologise about that, but yeah, crack on. Which car are we on? Sorry, so I'm going to get the camera
29th.
Back. What's he in?
Chaba Terhez.
You know what, make he's in. Sorry, because my camera actually went back to the car for some strange reason. I don't know what was happened.
He is in a Mercedes, position 30th.
Right, okay. I'll go with that one then.
And then we've got Billy Octane in 30th, Attila Denks in 31st, Eric Vanderbilt in 32nd, Joseph Varga in 33rd, Marco Ripper 34th, Moy Mammon in 35th, Vasil Anurev 36th, Marcel Sadowski 37th, Michael Rovat in 38th, Ivyalo Grigorov in 39th, Phil Witz, Sebastian Zayak in 41st, Nizar Il Haddad in 42nd, Paul Lightman in 43rd, and 44th Michak Bonka.
There we go. Okay. That's we go with that for me. Obviously, my camera got stuck into a car, and then I completely lost where we were going through the order. Then, unfortunately, so I couldn't obviously put the right car to the name. Then, unfortunately, George is obviously calling out there. But yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's live streaming for you. You know, things do happen, unfortunately. But looking at these conditions at the moment, it is pretty crazy, isn't it? It's yeah. So the guys obviously had 5 minutes now to obviously set their wet conditions up. There's wet setups up even. So we'll see how this is going to pan out. So we've got a full formation lap. So everyone will go into single file. They will spread out and we'll be doing the weaving, braking and stuff like that. Get the tyres and try and get as much heat as they can in these conditions with the tyres and brakes. So I'm guessing everyone's going to be pretty much running on wet tyres. So yeah, so once they start off, as we see, Stefan Zero is currently now leading the formation lap. Yeah, the leader will get round to the second to last corner, and then they'll bunch back up into double file again, and then they'll be following the on-screen widget to keep themselves all bunched up. So then the leader will get them around the final corner, up to the start-finish line, and when the lights go green, it will be go, go, go. So yeah, hopefully we'll be in for a nice clean T1. I mean, T1's quite nice here because you've got a nice runoff, so hopefully if anyone is going to be missing their braking points in these conditions, hopefully they're going to think, rather than go into the inside, they go to the outside to if they're going to lose control. So anyway, let's hope for a clean race. That's the main thing.
I think as clean as it can be in these conditions, I think that there inevitably are going to be some cars that are probably going to need to use that runoff. I think that the wet start conditions are going to catch people out. But like you said, hopefully thinking ahead, making use of the escape roads and not ruining somebody else's race. That's all part of sim racing. And with a grid size this big in conditions like this, you would kind of expect that there would be maybe something like that happening at the start. If we don't get that, we'll be highly blessed. And of course, we'd love that. But right now, it is not looking like any of the drivers should be driving with dry tires on their vehicles. Everybody needs something more than wet tires even. I mean, even from the helicam here, you can just see how much rainfall is coming past the camera. It is really going to be a wet race here tonight, Simon and Jesse.
It is, yeah. I mean, it is pretty bad, isn't it? The conditions at the moment still. It's actually gone up to 80% rain, 80% wet. So yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people heading off the track into the walls, unfortunately, with these conditions. So I think we're definitely going to be having to pull the conditions back a bit for the 12-hour race, because obviously we're being such a long race that is. Yeah, it's definitely going to be... we obviously want the 12-hour race to last 12 hours. But anyway, we'll see what's happening here. So, see where we are on the track at the moment. So we've not got too far to go now. Around maybe 2 at Spoon by the looks of it at the moment. So yeah, so we're in those sort of 30 seconds or so before we get to the start-finish line, and then the guys say we'll start to get back up into double order. And
well, guys,
ready to go.
Honestly, I mean, this is going to be a crazy start because now the track isn't running because there's not been cars on it. You're going to start all bunched up, 80% rain, 44 cars. You're at one of the fastest tracks in the world. But, gentlemen, this is the pro split. So, what I'm expecting is they're all going to go down into turn 1. It's going to be completely fine. And if anything else happens, that's completely unexpected. This is going to be great as they bunch up 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 for as far as the eye could possibly see, which isn't far today. And to George's point, you may need something more than wet tires today. You may need a boat because it is torrential down there. But this is great. This is what I've been waiting for. This is the big test that all these drivers have been waiting for leading up to the 12-hour. Take it away, George.
Yeah, so Zero and Simard are going to be our front 2 runners, going to bunch the pack up before the start-finish straight. And of course, waiting for the green lights to give us the go-ahead here at Suzuka. We just see the train of cars. We see some lights, and that's basically our indicators as broadcasters as well. Nice view from the top. If we looked back, you would see an infinite supply of cars. The leaders go over the start-finish line. We are live here at Suzuka. Simard with a great launch off the start. He's left 0 behind him as they go into that T1, and there's just cars off the track on the left side. It's going to be Simard off. 0 going to get through okay, and it looks like that cautious approach for him going to play out quite well. See a Mercedes off on the grass as well. A couple of cars going off of the track, but it looks like 0 in the Lexus going to get a great start out here at the moment. It looks like Santoro also getting a good start, getting himself into 3rd. So Samad in 2nd, Santoro 3rd. Saklari also, good start there into 4th place. A great start for a couple of drivers up at the front here.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like T wasn't actually too bad during the conditions. We had a couple of cars go off there, which as we saw with the second camera there from the feed through T1, T2. So yeah, it wasn't actually too bad. So we've got 45 cars on the track in these conditions. So, and like I said, we are at 80% rain, 80% wet, 16 degrees ambient and track conditions. So yeah, there's a lot at play here. So as you say about the Lexus, we can see how much time he's gained already. 1.4 seconds already as he's just span on the hairpin. Oh my god, this is going to really mix things up, isn't it? So yeah, we're definitely going to have to
there's a lot of cars just there. I think there's some standing water on the inside there. Lots of contact coming in. Cars just kind of parked in the middle of the track on the outside as well. I saw Saklari also had an incident. So I was talking about him doing quite well in 4th. He dropped down to 35th. 0 here, he's also lost out, seems to be turned around again, but there are still a couple of cars facing the wrong direction at that hairpin there, and that's still causing a big bunch up towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you want to see, it was to be expected with these conditions. I mean, this is some serious stuff. 80% rain, 80% wet track, you know. Do you understand? It hasn't been too bad. Only a few sort of cars been turned around, like I said, with the standing water, as we see. I say that now as commentator's curse there, as we just see one of the cars go straight into the back of a McLaren. Yeah,
I think that was. I think that was King, who just couldn't do anything about it. Had hit a bit of an aquaplane, was on the brakes, and just aquaplaned into that McLaren. So looking at 0 here, who was leading the race, down into 7th as he goes through the hairpin. Couple of drivers. I see 2 cars going over the escape road there as well. This is, like you said, it's going to be an intense race. Throw the difficulty of Suzuka there and now make it a torrential downpour, and that's kind of what we've done here. Plus, all of the cars on the grid. 0's lost out again, down to 8th place. As yeah, I think that he's really look at all these cars, Simon and Jesse, just struggling to find where you can actually put yourself onto the brakes, where you can accelerate. I mean, if you just touch a puddle in the wrong place, you're being sent off the track.
Absolutely, yeah. These conditions are very bad. A lot of people saying, I see safety car, red flag. Yeah, I'll see what the guys want to do, whether we actually do a restart here, because yeah, these conditions are pretty bad. I didn't expect these conditions to be this bad, really. It's they too much, isn't it?
You're 100% right there. We're borderline on those red flag conditions. Nobody can get any power down. It's a lot of standing water, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. Must be absolutely terrifying to be trying to drive around at this stage.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll see what's going to happen for this. Go ahead.
Simon, are you going to try and sort out and see what's happening there? I mean, I can chat to Jesse about his experience with wet weather conditions here and what he feels is going on. Jesse, do you like the rain like this?
Well, that's a loaded question, George. Do I like the rain? Do I like the where I'm sitting right now? Yeah, absolutely. I think this is very interesting. It's something you don't typically get to see, and it is interesting to see these pro drivers who are put to the absolute limit and tested here. I also think that it's not something I would certainly want to be driving in, but I wonder if conditions will the track conditions will slightly improve as they get more laps. We certainly saw that in qualifying, where they sort of, they found some grip. They certainly found 3 or 4 seconds, and they didn't find that out of thin air. They kind of ran the track in a bit. I wonder if that's a possibility, 80% weather, but it is torrential. I mean, George, would you like to race in a race like this?
I mean, it's not even a loaded question. The answer is no, I would not like to race in conditions like this. I think that like you said, the potential that it could become better does play on the mind, but you have to make it to that stage of the race for yourself to benefit off of it. And one little small mistake now sends you off into the corner or into a barrier. You pick up a lot of damage, and then it doesn't really matter what happens later on the race. You're
Very true.
already, minute 30 down, as we see in Aston Martin just struggling for the breaking point there. I think that was Zeeman, who does manage to keep it on the track, doesn't go into the wall. But yeah, I wouldn't want to. It doesn't look like it's easing up, and it just becomes a ticking time bomb for all the drivers at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I'm still looking at track conditions. Track has dropped by 1 degrees. Ambient still 16 degrees at the moment. Still 80% rain, 80% wet. So yeah, these are some horrendous conditions for sure. As you see, everyone is pretty much running the wet tyres. I mean, they'd be absolutely silly if they've got slicks on. But yeah, we've still got 1 hour 23 minutes left of the race. We'll see how this pans out. If we start to lose too many people, we might call a restart and hopefully get the weather conditions changed a bit. But we'll see what's going on. I'm in chat with the guys at the moment, and hopefully they're reading the messages here. So yeah, we'll stay with it for the moment. It looks like there's only been a few people sort of just trying to get used to where the puddles are on the track, and hopefully we will start to see some dry lines being made, so then the guys can start to pick up the marbles and hopefully gain some traction through this rain conditions.
Yeah, we did mention it looking quite difficult. Jesse said it's always nice to see the pro drivers, the absolute best, being pushed to the limits. And you can actually kind of see now that there's a little bit of space, cars aren't having to really fight side by side into corners, so they're not being forced into lines that they wouldn't want to go in the wet. It looks like everybody's starting to kind of acclimatize to things. Santoro up in first, leads away on Rats in second, Zero in third, and Jardia in fourth here. We look behind him at the front end of, I believe that is Zeeman in his Aston Martin. I think, is it?
Sorry to interrupt you, but we now have spoken out a penalty for Sadowski for rejoining the track unsafely.
Right, okay, thank you for that. So what did he get for the penalty there, Fabian? Oh, he's muted himself.
I can't see it on my side on the timing sheet
down.
what he's got.
Here we go, yeah.
A drive through.
Yeah, P39 got a drive through for rejoining the track badly and obviously caused an incident earlier on, so that's why he got a DT for that. Yeah, we'll head back up to the front at the moment, so this is going to get very, very interesting. We've got a few people in the pits at the moment looking at it. So P14 and that's in the pits. So I guess a lot of guys have gone into the pits. Is that Samir? I think that's actually Samir there who's just losing it on T1 there. So yeah, these conditions are pretty bad, but like I said, at the moment we'll stay with it because there is not too much like incidents going on right now. Just a lot of people sort of just hitting these puddles and spinning, but nothing to sort of cry home about yet.
You know, George, to your point earlier, you were talking about different drivers that prefer different conditions, and not everybody is going to be a rainmaster. Perhaps your fastest guys in the dry won't necessarily be able to keep up pace with some other people in the wet. And one of the silver linings to a race like this is you get a really good idea of some people that are perhaps a little better in the rain or a bit more pliable, who don't have to have a perfect track condition. And that's, you know, history's littered with drivers like that were called rainmasters or people that could always get it done in the wet. And I don't know, I'll learn a lot about some of these guys today because of that. And just as I say that too, whereas we're riding on with the 22nd place number 71 Audi here, but as they are battling, what is that? They're battling Zayak right now, it appears. Oh, they're going for it too wide. This is not the place you want to go at it, and I think Zayak has went off momentarily, but he will get back on. But job done for the number 71 Audi there. Gets the pass done in the hairpin. that was it's treacherous conditions. But I wonder too, if you look at the track, there seems to be not a dry line for sure, but a ran in line. So not sure, but would be interested to see what that's doing to the lap times and the grip levels here.
Car number 37 just got a drive-through penalty for punting another car off the track.
There we go. So we've got live stewards in this race today as well, so they will be harsh with the penalties. I've got a few people in the pits, obviously got in for repairs and stuff, so it should be expected with these conditions. But obviously this happens in real life as well. I mean, maybe they don't race in these treacherous conditions as such, but still looking at the track conditions and the rain, it's still 80% rain, 80% wet on the track, so no changes at the moment. We might see if anything changes later on, but still currently 16 degrees ambient, 16 degrees track temps as well.
And this battle that you're showing on the screen here, Huke in car number 999 and Yevanov, that's going to definitely seem to heat up at the moment. The Ferrari versus the BMW, as we dive on board with Yevanov as he comes to the, obviously comes to, he's exited the S's now, comes through that fast right-hander. This is also just a place where the car can just become so unsettled with the curbing, and obviously standing water a problem. But just look how closely these two drivers are getting their cars together in these conditions before coming up to the hairpin, slamming on the brakes. And Yevanov going to have a look on the inside. They are going to touch. Oh, Yevanov caught up by the puddle. Now going to be parked on the apex there. Needs to be careful when exiting. He's made a big contact there with another Mercedes. Doesn't impact the Mercedes race too much in terms of taking him out, but Yevanov tried to get out of the way there, will rejoin the circuit, but that battle with Chris Huke is not going to be on the money now.
Car 838 just got a penalty for being too unsafe on the track.
There we go, yeah. So Samir at the moment is side by side at the moment with the Ripper, and he's also got Barger in front of him by the looks of it. So it looks like the Ripper did go a bit wide there. It's giving Samir P12 there, so that was nicely done going through the spoon.
This is crazy. I mean, if you look at some of the onboards that we've been watching, just look at the spray coming onto the windshield of the car behind. It is incredible stuff. These guys are out here. They're not just driving around. They're making passes, as we just saw Ibrahimi make a pass there to get back into, well, actually, I think that was for 11th, actually. But that's incredible stuff. And they're out here racing. And guys, I think what we're seeing in that hairpin is exactly what you guys highlighted in sort of qualifying or the beginning of the race, where if you try to hit that that apex on the exit and you're not sort of wide, there seems to be a puddle there. And I think every driver is learning that at their own pace, that there's a puddle there and you can't take the inside exit of the hairpin. So, you know, a bit of a learning curve. You know, it is a learning curve. You don't look at the spray now as we ride on board with the third place car 0. That is incredible. He is in the spray of Rats, which is the second place car. This is a battle for position, folks, in these conditions. Could you do that? I couldn't do that.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely no ways that I could do that. I mean, like you saw, Zero could see absolutely nothing as he trails on Rats. I mean, we need to just remember that Zero already had a big incident, found himself down in, I think it was like P8 a couple of laps ago, and seems to have clawed himself back up to third place here. So, like I said, I feel like the Lexus in the rain is definitely quite a favorable car, and I don't think there's too many of them on the grid here for us to see if they can reap the benefits. Zero will have to be my my trial child on that theory, and right now he's looking to try and find a way past on Rats, who is a driver I also just wanted to have a little talk about. I mean, I've seen him in these pro splits quite often. A driver that is very competitive, super quick when it comes to the dry conditions. When you know, mid-pack driver, always fighting their top 10. I see that name plenty of times. But here, maybe highlighted that perhaps the likes it a little bit wetter.
Yeah, I think like you're saying, the Lexus is doing pretty well here. I mean, also with the BOP, we've got obviously on the Mercedes and the Aston here, we've got 20 kilos of ballast added to these guys, and they're basically the top runners at the moment with the Aston in P1 with Santoro and Rats in the Mercedes. So yeah, interesting to see that. I will just quickly pop up the time boards as you see the guys have actually got 20 kilos of ballast added to them. So that's the BOP added, because these cars are pretty quick around Suzuka. So starting to get a bit confusing is there's a few people in the pits at the moment, which is obviously throwing up some random relatives to me to thinking I've got a battle going on, but there isn't. But I will just jump back over to Zero at the moment, because he is starting to close up on Rats, so this could become very interesting. I'm going to jump on board again so we can see just how bad the conditions are. Like you say, looking at the windscreen here, you can hardly see out of it at all with the car overhead. So he really needs to obviously be cautious where he obviously brakes to, and obviously not to take out the Mercedes in front. As you can see, he's almost on the bumper at that point.
Yeah, he's just closed that gap right down. It looks like if he gets right up behind that Mercedes, you don't really get that kick up and spray as much. But really, that's playing with life and death before the braking points. And I think that Zero knows this, needs to make sure that he does not take Rats out at any point here. He's obviously the follow car, and all the onus is on him to make sure that he passes safely when he tries to pass, does not dive bombs. So there's a lot of pressure on this number 42 Lexus here. Rats really is going to be under pressure, but we'll know that Zero needs to find a safe place past. And if he just makes sure, or Rats just makes sure that he puts this Mercedes AMG in the right place, it's going to be very, very difficult to get that Lexus past. Even if it feels comfortable and fast, you can't get past on the outside in the wet like you could possibly in the dry. So really defensive driving here does benefit the driver in front. The passing is made so much harder, and we continue to ride on board here with Samuel Rats as we look back at Zero in that Lexus as they come around through the Casio chicane and onto the start-finish straight once again before heading down to T1.
Absolutely, yes. I just see the chat here about the red flags. Yes, obviously we didn't plan for these conditions to be as bad as this. Obviously this was going to be a warm-up event ready for our 12-hour Suzuka race on the 18th of April. So yeah, obviously just as well we've obviously done this, because the last we obviously wanted to actually run these conditions in the 12-hour race, and obviously the race not lasting 12 hours if everyone ends up dying. So yeah, obviously we're probably going to look to obviously tame it down for futures, but like, as we're saying, we've had a few people off the track. A lot of people are starting to learn where the puddles are building, where to avoid. I mean, as we see going through the hairpin, everyone is really at crawling place race going around that corner. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's completely red flagged at the moment, because again, we've got a lot of battles going on. I say that as one of the Astons has just made a mistake, hit a bit of the curve there, and has gone off into the gravel. But generally, the racing so far, there has been not too many incidents so far in this top split now. Everything's sort of calmed down a bit. And we've got some interesting battles sort of materialising as well across the grid. So, yeah, I wouldn't say red flag just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like only 3 cars have really retired from things, according to, or 4 cars, according to my timing screen. I could be wrong there, but we talk about difficult conditions, and this is the pro split. These guys really showing that they deserve to be here, continuing to grind out these lap times and just stay focused. It's not an easy race condition at all. I mean, we've seen their lap times have dropped to 220s race pace. It's a difficult race condition. Cars are full, and much respect being shown by a lot of the drivers here. You see a lot of the blue flagged cars also just being cautious, not wanting to cause an incident, not wanting to be the reason that one of the front runners has been run off the track. And that's really why these drivers deserve to be in this split. I just want to highlight Bruno Cadhill down in 16th as well. Also a driver that's just done greatly so far to keep his nose clean. He seemed to be closing down onto Veal in 15th. but not quite there to make a move just yet as we follow along on board with, or on track with Bonka, who seems to be closing down on Yevanov in that Ferrari. And we've seen that Ferraris do like to accelerate off the... Ooh, you
So
see
I
that
just took back blame.
BMW in the background just making it through 130R. Saved it, stayed on the runoff, didn't put it into the wall. So props to that.
Absolutely. So, so yeah, some crazy conditions, as we say. You know, we've still got an hour and we're just around an hour and 10 minutes of the race to go. There is one mandatory pit stop in this race. So yeah, these guys have to obviously pit at some point. So yeah, I'm guessing everyone's going to be going for. Do you want to double split in? I don't know if people will be able to. Double stints or a set of tyres in these conditions. I'm guessing they're going to have to go in for tyres and not just a splash and dash in this race. So it is open up to strategy by the looks of it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what how this is going to materialise with the pit strategies.
Can I ask, Simon? Is it my timing screen that's just wrong? But do they technically have to do a pit stop according to the game, or is that something that's being enforced tonight? Because obviously we can't see when they've done their mandatory stops. They've all got green indicators for me.
Yes, they have. That's right. Yes. Maybe Vicky didn't actually set it up as a mandatory, but you will be getting a pit stop for sure in this 90-minute race because obviously the cars ain't going to be
wouldn't be able to make it round in that time limit, but we wouldn't really be able to see who's gone in now.
Oh, who was that that's just gone off? I think that was Bonka, wasn't it? No, it wasn't Bonka. That was a different guy.
Different pink Audi.
Yes.
I think it was one of the back markers.
If I'm not very much mistaken, I'm pretty sure that was Wolf Matushka, but I'm unsure. He also drives a very pink Audi.
I think it is. Yes, he's indicated one of the moments.
Yeah, it was him. I've just gone back in the replay. 100% right, Jesse.
That's a shame to see because Wolf, he was he did a P50 to P1 in the 6-hour race we did, so he ended up taking the podium of that race with his teammate Bonka. So yeah, he's done a pretty interesting job there. But it's a shame to see him so far down the grid at the moment in these conditions. Like I said, it is pretty bad out there. I'll definitely be staying out. We've just seen the Mercedes just literally touch a bit of the bit of water there, aquaplane, and gone straight into the wall in front of Wheel. So yeah, the conditions are not great. So jump over to Jardir at the moment because I'm sure he was closing off on Stefan Zero at the moment for P3. So see what's
that's him right there. Holy cow! Where did he come from? Where did Jardir come from? He has erased that gap. Has something happened, gentlemen? I'm pretty sure something's happened to Zero because he's 5 seconds behind Rats. He's fallen into the clutches of Jardir. Jardir, though, again, he's having and this is kind of his typical MO. He's having a very quiet, consistent race in the top 5 here in the top split for us. So very interesting. And now we're going to see what he can do, what the McLaren can do on the Lexus.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, track conditions not really changing still 80% rain, 80% wet track. So it's 16 degrees ambient, 16 degrees track conditions. So yeah, I don't think anything's going to be changing too much. So it is set to random and obviously 1 times progression. So it doesn't look like we're going to be getting much change here. So yeah, anyway, this is obviously a big learning curve for us to try and dial in the weather conditions for the 12-hour race. I mean, this is another reason why we did this warm-up event, just to basically get the guys ready for the 12-hour race, basically to be expected to know what the conditions will be like. But as we can see, these conditions are a bit too bad, aren't they? Definitely on the border of a red flag for sure.
So just continuing to watch that battle between Jardia and Zero. One of the things that I have noted, the Lexus a little bit slower out of the acceleration side. So anyway that the Lexus actually has to slow right down, like the hairpin or here through the chicane, it seems like that McLaren does just close down the gap again. A little bit sluggish off the line. I'm not sure if it's just in the dry or it also impacts it here in the wet. But yeah, not really going to be the case, as I'm obviously going to mention it. Zero seems to find some more legs in the Lexus and continue to run away from the McLizzy.
Absolutely, yeah. Just seeing what's going on down the grid at the moment. A lot of cars are going past the pits. Still got a few cars in the pits, which are sort of messing up my relatives at the moment. So I don't think there's too many battles going on at the moment. Jump over to P7. Nope, it is just a case of someone in the pits. We stay on board with... and that's interesting. It looked like there's a 3 second, a 0.3 between Samuel Rats and Santoro, but it's not. The relatives are lying to me. For the game to catch up.
Well, that is actually interesting, guys, because Samuel Rats was about 15 seconds behind leader Santoro, who we've not talked much about. He inherited the lead after the wild start that we had to this race, and Santoro's just been kind of doing what he wants to do, which is drive around a track with nobody around him, where all he has to do is worry about traction. But Samuel Rats has cut that lead in half at this point. So you have to wonder if Santoro had a momentary off, or maybe he had to get out of it a bit, or maybe Rats has just found something here. But certainly that deficit's down to half, guys.
Absolutely, yeah. So Santoro doing pretty well at the moment. Yeah, 8 seconds ahead of Samuel Rats, with 0.5 seconds behind Rats there. So 13 seconds between P1 and P3 at the moment. So yeah, he seems to be very comfortable at the moment with the Aston. Gone a little bit wide there, but nothing to sort of cry home about at the moment. I don't think he would have gained any time to get a track warning anyway, track limit warning. So yes, looks like Santoro could be in for a podium tonight. But again, still an hour and 3 minutes left, and obviously with pit strategies we have seen things really get mixed up, with obviously people taking the lead and obviously getting a faster pit stop. So yeah, a lot can happen still. We have seen this, as I said many a times. So Chris Hokie in our last race at Barcelona, he pitted very late on and gained about 5 positions in his last 30 minutes of the race. So it's, yeah, depending on when these guys decide to go in for the pits, can really sort of play with obviously how much grip you got on your tyres at that point of time.
I mean, you tracking them. Sorry, Jesse. We were just watching Santoro go through the S's as we jump onto Bonker, who I think is coming up onto some back markers here through the Casio chicane. Is this for position, or is this onto back markers?
I think this is for position.
Yeah, I think this is Varga, isn't it? Varga, you're in the Aston, that's right, yeah. So this is actually for position for P10 at the moment.
Oh, so another on-board interesting point of view where you just see spray coming up from Varga's Aston Martin. Bonker's bright pink. Audi going to be easy to spot there, but in these conditions, not going to be easy to control. It looks like going through the S's, he's lost down on that gap. He's going to close it down again through here. We saw that Santoro's Aston Martin looked very stable coming through. Bonker's Audi looks much the same as he closes down that gap to Varga. Again, flashing his lights onto Varga. Obviously trying to let him know that he's there. Doesn't think that you can see him, and wants to let him just know that, hey, if you leave a gap, I'm going to take it, and this could be the gap opening up right here. They're going to go side by side. Oh, big contact. There was a contact, was kicked off, and Bonker does a big 360. And here we get a replay of the incident. Yeah, he lost traction. It came back. And unfortunately, going to go side by side with the Aston Martin. Does a 360, gets back around. Not sure what kind of damage has been done there. But Bonker trying to push a little bit too hard before the fast right-hander. And to Dunlop getting absolutely taken out.
That is a bit of a shame, really, because we could have been on for a three-way battle at that point with the Audi, Aston and Ferrari in front there for P9. So shame to see that happen. But yeah, like I said, these conditions are very, very treacherous at the moment. You see how much, how wet the track is. It's 80% wet. So yeah, these guys really have to try and find these dry lines, even if they can in these conditions. It's just, yeah, pretty much aquaplaning and drifting around some of these corners, as we can see. So Have to be very, very careful with your inputs. Very high TC and ABS, I'd say, for this to try and keep that car on the track on the black stuff.
Yeah, and you see Bunker there as well, just getting round, and the car almost kind of trying to correct itself, and as he gets on the gas, just kind of throws him back, and that's kind of what caused this incident to go side by side as we watch Hooker's BMW also get a little bit squiggly getting onto the brakes before the chicane. But will be interesting. We'll follow along and see if all the drivers are struggling with that traction in the back, trying to come out. I'm pretty sure they will be still struggling to see a dry line, somewhat less wet line, maybe evolving, but not quite clear, as Hookie trying to have a little look-see and a change of line, going very wide, maybe kind of pick up a couple of marbles and get some grip back into his tires. But definitely a difficult track to drive. And now you get through these S's where you just want to stabilize the car once again and make sure that it's not going to be pointing in the wrong direction for these corners that just change direction and really depend on a good exit and carrying momentum. Otherwise, you just lose out to all the cars behind you.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going for an interesting battle here with P15 at the moment. And P14.
Yeah, Bruno Cadhill on Veal. He was closing down that gap previously, and he's got it right down into shooting distance. It will be a battle between the Mercedes and the Aston Martin. Cadhill in that number 88. Right on the back of Veal will pull alongside. Oh, Veal gone very wide off there. I think that's going to just have given it straight to Bruno there. So just waiting, forcing the error. But it looks like Veal going to be firing right back. Going to go alongside once again. They're going to come up to the hairpin. We've seen things happen here before. Bruno going to be on the inside. Veal around the outside. Bruno has to be very, very gentle with that throttle on the exit, and he's done so. Manages to hold off Veal once again. Going to have to stay defensive. And what a battle coming out between these two. And Veal makes a mistake. Cadhill gets some breathing room on the run down to Spoon.
Awesome stuff. So even in these conditions, we can still have some awesome battles going on. So yeah, it's not over yet. It's not a red flag for sure at the moment. Still, again, it's still 80% rain, 80% wet conditions. So looks like it isn't going to be changing. So the drivers are starting to get used to where the puddles are, where the dry lines are, and obviously where they can sort of push. So yeah, looks like we're going to be in for the long haul for the next sort of 58 minutes, or just under 58 minutes now. But it looks like we might have another battle just ahead, actually, looking at the headicam here. So we might just jump over to Kevin Zakalari. So lots of action going on here at the moment as they come around the final corner. So this is like a 3 or 4 way battle going on by the looks of it. So it looks like we've got Bonker, Varga and Zakalari here.
100%.
This could be very
just
interesting.
ahead of them, they've got Hooker there as well. Hookie. So, like you said, the 3-way battle coming down into T1 now. And it looks like Bonker going to go very wide off there. Zakalari going to be handed that position for free. Now just Varga to go. And Varga's also made a mistake. Zakalari trying to capitalize on all of this. Bonker's back onto this. And through the S's, they will go.
Wow. So considering obviously Bonker went off wide there, luckily obviously there is a nice runoff there at T1. So he didn't lose too much time to obviously get back his head onto Bonker. Sorry, not Bonker. I've lost what I'm saying. Sorry, Zakalari, sorry, in the Mercedes. I'm so used to Zakalari running the Porsche. It's a bit of a change to see him in the Mercedes. So yeah, some awesome stuff going on so far. I'm just having a quick look down the thing. I did see there might have been some action going on with Jardia for P4, but it looks like that gap sort of opened back up again. So we'll stay with these guys at the moment. These are pretty close so far. So could be in for the set of 3, even 4-way battle. So it depends what happens when we come up to the hairpin.
Yeah, that hairpin can just change everything. And Varga has put a wheel onto the grass there. That's forced him to go very wide. Zakalari now going to be able to reel in that Aston Martin once again. Getting the run down to Spoon. Will have a little bit of the tuck here. Look at this view on board. Absolutely nothing to be seen other than a rain light and some flashing headlights from Zakalari. And Zakalari, going to be forced wide. Does manage to keep it off of the grass. But Bonker, he's going to be able to now close down on Zakalari. So that pink Audi now looking to benefit again. So 3-way battles, always going to be interesting. as the middle car tries to find a way past the front car, and the car at the back decides, you know what, if you guys are going to play around, I'm going to play around as well. So Saklari still stays in the middle of this three-way battle. Varga up front in that Aston Martin, running wide through 130R before they're coming up to that Casio chicane now. And Bonka, late on the brakes, closes down the gap to Saklari in that Mercedes. And again, good on the power from Varga. Look at that Aston Martin runaway. And it looks like it will be Bonka and Saklari now to have a kind of two-way battle until they can catch back up to Varga.
Yeah, so again, a lot of battles going across. I see someone said we might have missed a battle going on for P4. We did obviously see what was going on. We did watch the relatives, but unfortunately, we've only got one camera at the moment. You know, we can only capture as much as we can, and even in the real life with the F1 and stuff, they don't capture everything. So we're doing our best to capture all the action we can. So yeah, lots of entertainment going on for you guys anyway. So yeah, again, thanks for following, guys. So we are streaming to both YouTube and Twitch tonight. So we've got pretty much an even split at the moment. So we've got quite a few viewers on tonight, 168 total. So not too bad. Yeah, guys, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe. And obviously, if you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to hit that follow button. And also, if you're Amazon Prime customers, you can subscribe to us on Twitch for free. And obviously, that helps towards our server costs and stuff like that. So it'd be much appreciated. Thank you very much. But yeah, still back on again with Bonka and Saklari at the moment. Still battling it out for P11 at the moment. And we see we've got the Varga not far ahead as well. So this could be very interesting for the top 10. Just looking a bit further down the grid. Nothing too much happening ahead at the moment. So we've got P4 and P3, maybe sort of about 3 seconds between them at the moment, so not too much. Going a bit further down.
Did you see that? I think that's a back marker that's made a mistake. Back marker's made a mistake there. Saklari is going to spin him around, and I think that's going to cost him time. Bonka here going to be able to come back. He's going to go side. He's going to be forced off by Saklari there. I don't think Saklari was fully in control. Bit of a passenger there. Seemed to have touched the grass and come around. Bonka been forced off. Varga also made contact with that back marker. So our little train of cars going to be changed up. I'd be interested to hear from our race steward Fabian if he saw that. That would be on lap 15 now between car 191, 125.
Yeah, it certainly will be interesting to see what our steward in the booth, Mr. Fabian Schmedberger, has to say about that whenever some action is taken, whether that be no action or some. It will be interesting. Guys, I just want to talk about Chris Huke for a second here.
Sorry?
Car Fabian, do you have something for us?
Just got a penalty, a 5-second penalty for having an accident with car number 891.
There we go. Yeah, okay. Looks like you got another one to do as well, Fabian. So that was another one we didn't actually see on stream there. So, yes, live stewards obviously got a very, very busy period as they are obviously trying to capture every single incident and give these guys drive-through penalties for, causing these incidents. But as I say, I think from Saklari's point of view there, I wouldn't say that was unfair what happened. I think a lot of the second instance for sure. With Bonka looked like it was more he was a passenger and just aquaplaying into him. But again, obviously we've got the live stewards, they can see from all angles. Unfortunately, the angles we get to see sometimes don't really do the instant justice. Sometimes it can look like it's one of the guy's faults and it could be actually the other person. So yeah, we always wait till the live stewards to come into the stream and let us know exactly what's happened, because again, they'll be actually to see every single view and angle of that incident to obviously give that penalty. Anyway, let's have a quick look a bit further up the grid. We might have to jump back to P1.
Sorry, Simon. Before, you jumped away from there. Before it was Varga leading Saklari and Bonka behind. But obviously, Saklari had got through past Bonka there. And now it's Varga and Bonka to be fighting things out. So Saklari, his Merc goes on by. And now it's Varga and Bonka to battle it out.
Okay, we got a new penalty for car number, sorry, I just typed it out, but I already forgot it. For Kevin Saklari 191 for taking out car number 888 and for blocking Mitya Boncha.
Yeah, I think he took out 125 as well from our point of view. Yeah, just see if he's got a drive through. So yeah, so Clary's got a drive through for that.
So Simon, did you hear that Fabian actually helped us with Boncha's name. We may have been making
Boncha. So it's Boncha, not Bonka.
Yeah,
Still
Boncha,
apologise,
not
guys.
Bonka. We got it. We got it. Thanks, JC, for not helping us. At least Fabian here got the pronunciation right.
You're absolutely welcome, and they were absolutely door handle to door handle there for a second. I was curling up in my chair. I was like, oh my goodness, too close for comfort. And speaking of too close for comfort, here we have a battle for 25th place. As you know, with 40 plus cars in the field, they will happen everywhere, and this is no difference. As looks like Javen has either taken that spot, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the way that's going to shake out, but it isn't shaken out just yet. It is still happening down into turn one. Aston Martin trying to go around the wide side of the track. Can't quite get it done. Falls back in line. You do not want to hit that apron and the runoff zone in these conditions. So he tucks back in, and number 7 Audi will try again. He looks to have pace here as we go up the S's. It's all about finding position, and finding a safe position in these weather conditions is paramount. And I don't know if I would try this after what we saw earlier, if I would try it here, and he doesn't, but nose to tail at this stage. I don't know, guys. Would you want to be in a mid-engine car in this weather, as a big off has just occurred for the 312 Lamborghini of Zeitvin? And that's how that battle will end for the moment. But as back to another battle, there's battles everywhere. But just very quickly, you wouldn't want to be in a mid-engine car in these conditions, correct?
No, I wouldn't want to be, and I wouldn't want to be in that Lamborghini in dry conditions at Suzuka, very twitchy car. As we follow the battle for 13th and 14th here, that will be Ripper in 13th, defending against the number 555 Aston Martin.
Yes, it is.
And
yes, and we got Yes, have you been pronounced? That's right. And we've got Suklari as well, not far behind. He obviously got a drive through, and he's obviously served that, and that's obviously why it's put him back to P15 there. So he's back on trying to. So he's obviously lost 4 or 5 positions from that. But yeah, it could be in for a freeway battle going on here as well. So interesting stuff at the moment. Just see if anything's happening at the top of the grid at the moment. Not too much is changing right now. Just a moment of Chris Hookie. No, it is literally someone in the pits that's throwing me off the relatives there. So we jump back over to Vasily for a minute.
If you want to jump over to car number 888, Cadhill in P12, he's actually just taken a position off of Boncha, who's gone into the pits for P11, but he's now closing down on Varga, who's featured obviously for quite a lot of our on-screen battles previously with Saklari and Boncha. So Cadhill here might be the next man to close things down, and just behind him he's got he's just taken, Denks is a back marker, that's bright orange, bright Lumo green and orange Aston Martin behind Cadhill. So just Varga here, the next car on track for Cadhill to make his way through, and really making his way through the order quite nicely. We saw him tracking sort of in P17 earlier on, almost made his way down into the top 10.
Absolutely, yeah. So Ripper again is also closing off a gap here as well, still on Bruno at the moment.
Yeah, and something else that I've been keeping an eye on, and I'm sure the folks at home have noticed, there will potentially be a battle for the overall lead of this race, as Santoro now only has about a 4-second lead on Samuel Ratz. Commentator's curse, he goes into pit road, but that might be a winning move, as Ratz has now pitted. He had 4 seconds on him, and just about 15 or 20 so minutes ago, he was 8 seconds back. So we're going to have to keep, I will keep an eye on that, because that's going to turn up and probably be your battle for the win here, even in these treacherous conditions. As, oh my goodness, thought the lap car, the 20th place car, was going to go off there. Doesn't do it, but Jardier, that's by virtue of cars pitting back up to 4th. We, again, haven't really talked much about Jardier today, but it's been a very smooth kind of day. It's a Jardier kind of day where he just kind of drives his own pace. He's inside the top 5, and I actually kind of like that livery on that car, guys.
Yeah,
it's quite
I
nice,
think
isn't
that
it?
yeah, that livery is probably one of the nicest 720S paint jobs I've seen in a long time. That blue with the green, little dabbler white. It really looks quite comfortable driving around here. You mentioned it before, Jardia just doing his thing. Just seems to be in that rhythm, in that zone, which is quite important to get to in conditions like this. So you need to just put it behind you that the rain is there. Need to stop thinking about it. And we're just having a little look here at Bruno Cadhill coming down the straight. He's now jumped himself into 9th place. So he's got the move done on Varga. He's gone very wide into T1. All that hard work going to be put to waste as Varga going to be let back through there. And Bruno going to have to climb back through the ranks. 44 minutes left to go. Plenty of time. But look how like visibility is just not there going through the S's here. And really got to just make sure that you pick your line, make sure that you're braking almost instinctively, right? You're not really noticing braking points anymore. You're kind of going off by feel and trying to find traction where you can, trying to not give too much throttle in places that could unsettle the car. And going through the Dunlop curves here, we've seen cars get unsettled before, and just going to make sure that you've got smooth application to that throttle before slowing things down to the double right-hander. Staying off the curbs as much as possible when you are on the curbs, making sure that you're exiting straight and clean. And definitely not an easy circuit before coming up to the hairpin once again. And it looks like Varga going to just go defensive, going to protect that inside line slow. Bruno Cadhill right down there on the exit. Just kind of back him up so that Varga can give himself a better exit. And you see just how many car lengths he's given himself on their run down to Spoon, kind of giving himself a bit of space with the acceleration advantage there by backing Bruno up and coming into Spoon, that big double left-hander. Again, off camber, can unsettle the car and throw it away. But Varga doing well here to keep the position away from Bruno. We saw him lose it on the previous lap and get handed it back on a silver platter, and will now just continue to run away with it before 130R.
Sorry, 5 seconds penalty for car number 8 for pushing car number 888 into the pits.
There we go.
Wait,
So
did
the
someone
battle
get
was still-
pushed into the pits?
Yes, we did in fact see that. We're talking about something elsewhere, but we did in fact see that there was a bit of a push to pass, if you will, going into pit road. Obviously, you'd assume unintentionally, obviously, but conditions being what they are, it's still a penalty. So thank you, Fabian, for that. And this battle, by the way, absolutely is continuing between Varga and Cadile, and they are going to go down into turn 1. Who is the bravest driver?
Oh, they almost lost the back end.
Almost, but hey, they keep it in check. They keep in mind this is for 9th place, and they're keeping it on the track. They're keeping it as clean as you possibly can, and this battle is going to continue on for another lap as they drive up through the S's. Got a nice run. It just seems like every time Cadilla has a nice run, he's getting it in a corner that he can't make the passes. He thinks about going to the outside. I don't know if I would try that. He is pretty sure he can get that done. Can't get it done and falls back in line. I think that is a lapped car behind them.
It is.
Pretty
It
sure.
is. It is. It stinks. It is a lapped car entering into the fray here, and Cadhill just kind of trying to find every angle on this track to see where he can find a way past Varga, being forced around the outside a lot. Simon and JC, you know how excited we get about overtakes on the outside. Going to try for a little bit of a cut back on the inside here, but just look at how well Varga is placing this car here. Cadhill flashes his lights in frustration, understands entirely that Varga's doing a great job of defending, and just cannot find a way past. Feels like he's faster, but cannot get a way past with the way that Aston Martin is being driven at the moment. Maybe here through Spoon, Varga's gone wide, and now they'll go side by side. Cadhill needs to just control that throttle application and does get it done now. Varga, a mistake made, and that will be the move done for Cadhill.
Nice stuff. Yeah, great racing by those guys. You know, very respectful there, side by side. He said as they come through Spoon there. So good to see that. Let's scroll a bit further down. I mean, at the moment, because obviously the pit stops, people have been starting to pit now. A lot of the battles have sort of broken up, but as always with our red line races, come sort of 20-minute mark or so, we will probably have battles left, right, and centre right across the grid as we usually do. So yes, do stay tuned for that because generally the top 10 or so just will get really mixed up. Yeah, I mean, George, I mean, and Jesse, I mean, you've seen it for yourself many a times. I'm sure you can agree there.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. That's the way these Redline Motorsports races and motorsport in general seem to come off is you'll have this lull in the middle of the races when pit stops and strategy comes into play, but it all comes back at the end. And as much as George, I like a pass on the outside, I don't know how many of those I mean, to be fair, we've already seen quite a few, haven't we, that have ended up that way. But just incredible stuff to see some of these guys, like we were pinpointing with Varga and Cadile there, just having an absolutely respectful battle for a top 10 spot and just doing all the things you would expect pro tier drivers to do.
Yeah, making space for each other, giving each other the room that they needed. There was no brake checking going on. Everybody was doing the respectful thing and continuing to lap around, and that's exactly what you want to see. Pro tier drivers for a reason, and our top 10 at the moment just doing a great job to keep that pace up. I mean, really shout out to all our drivers here that continue to drive around in these rainy conditions. But top 10 really have given us some great fights, and we've seen some battles popping up throughout the grid, which is always the great thing with big grid sizes. Obviously, you can't catch everything, but so far, so good. And the action that we've caught has not really been of that type where it's just cars smashing into walls. Of course, we had a couple of incidents in the beginning, but it was nothing too bad. Everything else has just been great racing, pushing drivers to the limits. As we watching Lightman here versus, is this Lightman versus Yevanov in front? Is that Yevanov?
I believe
Or
he got the
Yevanov?
overtake done. Is that right? Yeah, I think it is.
Or this is, I mean, but one of those is an Aston Martin. Lightman here in the Ferrari. So I think that might be a back-marked car or our leader, perhaps.
I believe it is about.
Yeah, that's our leader, Santoro, just going past Lightman there. So Santoro was that Aston Martin in front of Lightman. Sometimes the leaderboards get a little bit confused here for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for myself. I mean, trying to, you know, especially when the cars are going through past cars that are in the pits, and it gives us sort of like, you know, gaps that are pretty close. Yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, the deltas do mix up. So, yeah, unfortunately, we think there's a battle going on. We flick over, and there's literally nothing going on between them. So, we do apologise about that. Obviously, we can only do our best with the tools we've got.
Oh, is that what Merc is spun around there? Was that Cadhill's Mercedes?
It might have been, George. I'm unsure.
But no, it wasn't. It wasn't quite Cadhill's, but there was definitely a Mercedes at the hairpin facing the wrong direction there. I'm not sure who that was, but it wasn't Cadhill. He stays in his 9th spot.
Yes, you are correct. As it turns out, Cadile's Merc is very differently colored. I don't know why I thought he was in a all-silver Mercedes. But, gentlemen, I have some very good news for you. Not only is it raining, not only is it treacherous, not only is it hard to pass a pro driver anyway, it's also getting dark.
Yes, just to add to the mix. So yeah, as we were saying, guys, we've got our 12-hour Suzuka race on the 18th. We have the Super Pole. We say it's a Super Pole. It's a very strict Super Pole. So the guys will literally have one warm-up lap and one hot lap to set in this time, and that's on the 11th of April. We'll be streaming that one as well. So we have 55 cars, I believe, is going to be racing in that race, maybe 60 actually. So I haven't got the final numbers yet, but it will be confirmed by the 11th anyway. So yeah, so we've got these guys that are always going to be doing the Super Pole on the 11th. That's going to be very, very interesting to see, because we're going to have one car at a time. They get one warm-up lap, one hot lap, and that's it. So, and the conditions are variable as well. So Some people might be lucky with the start and have a dry qualifying. Other guys a bit later on who start, you know, about an hour or so later with their qualifying could end up with, you know, a dry track or wet track. So, yeah, really going to mix things up for the grid start. So that will, so yeah, whatever happens on the 11th with the overall positions, that will be the grid start for the 18th for the 12-hour race, and that's going to start midday BST and run right through till midnight on the BST. So yeah, going to look forward to that. So that's the 18th of April, so do put that in your diaries. And obviously the Super Bowl is the 11th, and I believe that's running at 2 p.m. BST. So yeah, put that in your diaries as well. So it'll be very interesting to watch the grid order for that race. But yeah, but anyway, back onto this race here at the moment. I said it's more of a warm-up race with the conditions and stuff for the 12-hour. I guess we are definitely going to be taming down these conditions. Because obviously, you know, we want the guys to race the full 12 hours and not end up retiring too early on with how wet the track's been. It's been pretty epic, hasn't it? I mean, a lot of people said have actually settled into the cars in these conditions now, and they're keeping it on the black stuff, which is great to see. But obviously, we've lost a few drivers along the way that have obviously you know, hit these puddles hard, gone off into the walls and wrecked their cars, and they've sort of thrown the towel in. But yeah, for the people here that obviously the hardcore, shall I say, sim racers, they have sort of pretty much stuck to it, and they are still firing on for the next 34 minutes.
Yeah, these guys have absolutely. Here's what's happening here. Pretty much at any race, whether it's sim racing or virtual, real, I mean, you're going to have a bit more attrition in the wet, aren't you? Because more things, you're affording more opportunity for things to go wrong. But here's what's happening here. We have about 40 drivers today who have signed on to do a 90-minute race, and they don't care if it's raining upside down and sideways. They're going to get their 90-minute race in here today. And so a lot of these guys are doing a really good job. It must be said, just fantastic stuff. And there's some drivers out there, Simon, that just love these kind of conditions, and I can't quite explain it to people, but they love the chaos of the moment in a weird way. They love to be challenged by something. And speaking of being challenged by something,
yes.
This is fantastic here as we ride on board with Varga, who is he right on the back of the 555? Is that what we're seeing here?
It is, yes, it is a battle for position, I think.
Oh, actually, I'm unsure. Timing and scoring is a bit loopy at the moment. We're unsure if that's a back marker or not.
So Varga's in the red Aston Martin, and it looks like it's Ebrich in the sort of tan-colored Mercedes behind him, trying to maybe unlap himself.
It looks like it is, yes. It's not actually a battle for position.
It's not a battle for position, and it looks like it's going to help Anureev out, because he was under attack from Varga maybe 3 or 4 corners ago.
Yeah, very interesting stuff here.
Interesting, yeah.
It's not where you want to be. It's not where you want to be. You just want to, 32 minutes in the race. You just want to carry on doing your thing. You've now got a back marker putting pressure on you. He's obviously either ahead based on pit stops or had to go in for damage. But you can just see the lights being flashed coming out from Ebrich. They're in that tan Mercedes. He wants to get past Varga. Varga feels absolutely nothing here, as he should. He has absolutely no need to get out of the way. If he feels like he needs to let this car past because it might cost him his race, he's obviously got that mindset to be allowed to do so, but absolutely no requirement. This is number 20, Ebrich, trying to get past and unlap himself from Varga. Obviously has the pace. I mean, you can see that quite clearly. Going to try and pull alongside here. We're going to go into the hairpin. It's going to be Varga on the inside, as he's done before. Force Ebrich wide, and Ebrich will pay with that one, but no, not really. Gonna get a little bit of a good rundown. Continues to flash his lights at Varga. Varga continues to feel nothing.
Yeah, some interesting stuff at the moment with that's going on with the back marker there. So yeah, P20 trying to overtake and unlap himself from P12. So yeah, see how this races really affect the grid. To see that P20 is a lap down already over P12.
They've actually had contact, Simon. Ibrich had kind of got it done. I don't know if you want to go back there. It looks like they both going to continue to go around. So they're coming up to Spoon. You'll see Ibrich goes quite deep. Varga gets early onto the brakes. You'll see what happens here, and kind of goes on the inside. Gets alongside, then loses it through the second part of Spoon. Tries to come back on, and as he comes back on, he's now caused contact with Varga.
Yeah,
so I think that
nothing
Fabian needs to have a little look just at that as well. I mean, that's a battle with a back marker trying to unlap himself. Now, it's always going to be tough, right? You do have the speed, you do have the pace, but why are you a lap behind? That's something that's been caused, in this race already. And again, they're going to have another look-see. Varga going to be forced to try and defend again. Ibrich going to send it on the inside, and he wants to get this done right now. Varga might have a cutback opportunity, flashing his lights. He's not happy with that send up the inside. Ooh, squiggles coming out. They're going to go into yeses, both focusing on maybe each other and flashing your lights at each other, almost losing both of their cars there into the S's, but managing to continue round. Definitely an interesting state of affairs down the battle. What is that? 11th and 20th, basically.
It was.
Trying to lap each other.
That's right. He was P12 at that point, but he is P11 now. Yeah. So yeah, just stay on board the leader from it, because the battles have sort of quietened down at the moment. I say that, but is there actually something going on with P14? We'll just jump over. We have actually got a battle for P14 while it's doing P13. So just so I thought it was going to be quiet, the storm has happened.
Yes, this is Steven on Lightman here for the 13th spot as they go side by side through the S's, or should I say up the S's. Steven in the 58. Aston Martin wants to get by that red Ferrari as the lights on the cars are all on. Obviously, they would be anyway because of the weather, but you start to see the track lights and all that come on, and as you see from the in-car, you can see absolutely nothing here as they continue to chase each other. This is how these races are. There's always something to watch, something interesting, and this is, oh my goodness. And you saw that car there that was, I mean, just getting out of the way, presumably. None the wiser.
That was Jesse. I have to stop you. That was the battle for position actually taking place. That was Lightman who had gone wide. This car in front, Stanxiao, I can't say the name properly. He's actually a back marker in that fight, right? He's not.
Oh, I see.
He's not in this.
Oh my goodness.
So the move has already been done. Lightman's already lost out. I'm trying to just see if Stanxiao's getting blue flagged at the moment, but Steven feels like he's owed a move here.
That's incredible. The rain obstructing my view there. I didn't even realize who he was battling. But my goodness, that's incredible stuff. I mean, I can't keep up with watching this, let alone being in this. I mean, going back to the Varga thing earlier, it's why wouldn't you just if that lap car caught you, despite the fact it's lap car, why wouldn't you let them go? I mean, unless there's a bit of gamesmanship, and I do love that gamesmanship of Varga holding up that lap car and being flashed, and then all of a sudden,
Jesse, 100% right. I mean, there's absolutely no reason not to let him go through. He's fast. He's proving that he's faster. But that's a pride thing that's
sure.
stopping you from really doing it. So I think that Varga says, you know what, I have absolutely no need to let you through. If you are faster, prove you're faster and find a way through. And almost ended his race really going through Spoon. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse for them with the contact forced in there. And sometimes that's something to consider. Do I just let that driver through, not risk myself being taken out, and just fight at my own sort of pace? It's very difficult really to make that call.
I would have to agree, George. It really is. I mean, my opinion would be to let the guy go. His opinion was, I'm going to race this guy because I'm a lap ahead, and that is his right, as you said. And I see absolutely no problem with anything with either side of that. I can see absolutely both sides. I just loved the bit where the lap car got through and Vargas started flashing his lights at him. I love
So,
the gamesmanship.
so I've worked it out, Jesse. This car in front, Stan Xiao, is our position 2 driver that's obviously lapped position 13. So that's
Oh,
just
I
really
see.
the pace that's happened here. I mean, you wouldn't really think that that's the case that's happened here, but yeah, that's not a battle for on track. That's a battle for obviously, maybe pit stops could have played part. We don't have a indicator of who's taken their pit stops, so it's a little bit difficult. But you would assume that maybe position 13's gone in for their pit stop, and perhaps that Stan Xiao hasn't. Can you guys please help me with that surname? Because I feel like I can't be the only one to make a mess of it, just as the lonely South African commentator. Right?
Stanshu, yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's worth having a chat with these guys to try and understand how they actually pronounce their names, obviously, depending on where they actually come from. Obviously, it was very
I think
pronounced
they should
differently.
give us like a phonetic, just to like they type their name in Discord and then they give us like in brackets the phonetic pronunciation of it. So even if it just like how it sounds, that would be great for us. If you guys do that and you just type your name and a random pronunciation of your sound, I'll understand what you've done in the Discord. Other people may not, but for me, it will help.
Absolutely. I just noticed that the blue Merc there just went off the track. He's got no lights on. He should be riding with lights by now because that is our rule. So just let the stewards know that he should be getting a penalty for this. So he should be wearing his lights on for sure in these conditions. But just having a quick look at the conditions again. Still 80% rain, 80% wet, 15 degrees track temps at the moment. So yeah, nothing's really changing as the time is progressing there. So 7:15 in the evening. So who is that Mercedes behind? I'm trying to see who his number is.
I'm unsure about that, but while you run that down, I want to remind everybody the race win and lead here is being fought between the current leader and the sixth place car of Samuel Ratz. Samuel Ratz came in for a early pit stop, was only 4 seconds back. He was at 1.14 seconds behind and got that gap all the way down to 4 and seemed to be the clearly faster of the two. So we'll be interested to see whenever the top 5 or 6 or so come, or 5 I should say, come into pit road to see what that does to that battle. So if you're playing along at home, feel free to pay attention to that as well, because Samuel Ratz has run a pretty great race, really, in second place, and now he's of course in sixth via the pit stop. But that is something I'm watching out for, and as we watch the number 12 car of Eberch.
Yeah, he's starting
So
to close
it's
off on that. Sorry.
Tobias Quick is the blue Mercedes that's running without his lights on for you, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Car number 969. I don't know if he's got damaged lights because I do see some kind of a light from the rear of his car, but definitely doesn't seem to have a headlight on.
Yeah, he's got no rear lights on from what I saw as well. So yeah, interesting. So hopefully the stewards will catch up on that and give him a penalty or let him know to get his lights on.
Well, folks, 22 minutes of this race left to play. Santoro, your leader, hasn't pitted yet. We assume, by the way, they have to pit. Hasn't happened so far for, I believe, the top 5. I'm fairly confident in saying. But that being said, 21 and some change to play. What have we learned from the box today about these drivers, about this track, about this race?
Yes. Well, the weather for one, and how much carnage it can obviously cause. Yeah, like I said, 80% rain. It's obviously a big learning curve for us to obviously try and dial these settings and make sure obviously it doesn't happen. Oh right, okay. Just a message from the stewards. It looks like it could actually be a bug regarding the lights. So I'm sure if we pan back into that car at some point, it might actually show his lights are working. So yeah, it is a known bug in ACC apparently, which is a bit annoying because you'd expect it all to work. But yeah, no, going back to these conditions, yes, obviously we don't obviously run with 80% rain and wet track for 12 hours. I mean, it's going to be too much, so we definitely need to dial that back. To be honest, I wasn't really expecting to have conditions like this at all. I was expecting more of a damp track where people will still be running with slicks, you know, and then maybe sort of like going from dry to damp and back to dry again or something. But as we can see, it's been completely random, and we've had pretty much a yeah, pretty much a big storm. So
I think my biggest takeaway is that in a tier with drivers that are so well known for their pace and obviously how close they are together, the weather has most certainly separated up that grid order, and there really isn't a clear-cut two drivers that I would say have kept things even across the board. It just seems to be that everybody has either a little bit more pace than the driver behind them, or is making a couple more mistakes, really. But really a big divide when it comes to these monsoon conditions. Obviously, not everybody good at White River rafting, but you know, it
pretty much. Yes, you definitely want a boat for these conditions for sure.
Yeah, I did think it was a bit odd that when Jardy had gotten his car, he had an oar with him. I didn't exactly know what that was about, but considering he's running inside the top three now, I think I understand. Because anytime you get into trouble, you can whip the oar out and start rowing. So it's been fantastic for Jardier as we go with him now in as we mentioned earlier, one of the prettier looking at 720 liveries that you can make in ACC. That is very nice, very distinctive colors as well. And it's just been quiet. It's been very quiet, and I'm interested to know, guys, because again, we're under 20 minutes of this race. There's a presumed pit stop that they have to make. We don't believe that anybody can make it 90 minutes, as there
Wow.
is a battle for fourth place between Zeman and Demov here. That could have that could have been a pass there in turn one. Thought better of it as Demov now tucks back in the number one Mercedes. He's chasing the number 21. What is that? An Aston Martin, as it were.
Is,
Sorry,
yes.
the onboards are just so, it's crazy. You can't see anything in the onboard, and now it's going a bit dark, but these guys, they're making it look pretty darn easy. Like I could go out and do that, and I know for a fact that isn't true, but this battle continues here. Certainly Demov has caught Zeman at this stage, I'm pretty sure, so be interesting to know what happens on the back side of the track. That's where a lot of passes get done. And in fact, he closes up quite a bit coming into the hairpin section here. Let's see what
And I mean,
happens exactly.
JC, that's Rats as well. That's gripping onto the back
Oh
end
my
Freeway
goodness,
battle
right.
going on
of
for people.
Demov as well. So that's going to be a three-way battle if you want to continue down to Spoon with that.
That is incredible stuff, George, because Rats was 3.5 seconds behind these guys a lap ago. The pace of that Lexus, as you pointed out, is incredible. Like he made up 3 seconds in a lap. That's I don't know what to say about that as we look the onboard shots of Demov back to
The Rats, yeah.
No, this is Rats
Yeah,
Rats is actually running a Mercedes there, and for some reason just seems to be getting so much more drive than
yes.
Demov in front of him. He's obviously got the slip here as well. 130R, it's not a place that you want to be going side by side, so Rats has had to back off a little bit. But there is a parked car that they're going to go past on the side of the track. That's the Clary that they're going to go on past before they slow things back down to the chicane. Really a apt use of the term, throwing down the
Big mistake.
Rats does get slippery and slide out of control and out of the slip. And now Zeman is going to be under attack from Demov solo. Rats to try and close down.
Yeah, this is getting I hate to say more treacherous, as I think Zeman goes a bit wide there, comes back onto the track, no harm, no foul. If anything, he might have saved himself a move being made on himself as they go back up through the S's one more time. And as you can see at home, folks, we can see in the box the fading light here, adding just another element of strategic value in my mind of when do you try to make passes? Do you try to make passes? What do you do? And I would not want to be Dimov right now. I mean, I'd rather be Dimov than Zeman right now because I'm the one trying to do the overtaking. But whoa, look at the rear view mirror, the flashing lights of Samuel Ratz as they get on the sort of second sector area, heading up into the hairpin. Fantastic stuff as the flyaway bridge there. That is just epic stuff. Part of the reason that I think a lot of people like this track. And just as they were a lap ago, nose to tail. This is for fourth place at this point. As I just noticed that Chris Huke has taken his car to pit road to do his service. So I think, gentlemen, we're starting to see that now. We're starting to see some of these cars who are waiting to the last second, as you two mentioned earlier. Those people tend to benefit from staying out. So we will certainly keep an eye on that as we keep an eye on this battle for fourth.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's interesting to see because obviously everyone's obviously been running low engine maps as well, so fuel consumption is going to last a lot longer than usually the sort of hour sprint you see. So yeah, this is probably why a lot of people are sort of, probably gone with a full tank of fuel and literally just going to run it dry and then pit. Like I said, we see Chris Hokey's gone in the pits now. But what is, I said again, it's good to see is obviously we see the Mercedes again. It's got 20 kilos of BOP added. Same as the Aston as well, and it just goes to show that the 20 kilos doesn't make too much difference with the cars against the others, so it's making it definitely more of a fairer race. So yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this
Simon,
this 12 hours. Yes,
Simon, Ratz just pulled alongside there of Dimov, gonna just go.
Pass,
I mean,
yeah.
did you see that exit? Like,
I did not see the actual exit, no, but I don't know if I can be able to catch it now. I'll just see if we can. No, unfortunately, I won't be able to catch it in time. Unfortunately,
I've never seen two equally matched cars just look like they had completely different engines inside them there. That exit from Ratz, he's going to now close down on Zeman. Dimov, I think, was holding him up in that battle, and I think that's exactly what we wanted as viewers, was for Ratz to get past there and now have a stab at fourth place from Zeman.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's interesting. You should point that out. It looked like Dimov was well, it sort of looked like he gave the position up, but we know that's not true. You're not going to give up a top 5 position this late into a race. It's just, like you said, just such a pull out of the final turn that it looked like he passed him standing still, as they say. But this battle right here, this is Samuel Ratz on fourth place Zeman. This is the battle that we're looking at here. This overtake right here, while not for the win right now, may prove pivotal to how this race plays out if Santoro needs to pit, and of course also Jardier and the second place number 23 Ferrari, who I refuse to butcher their name again. My apologies indeed. But this battle...
What's happened?
Yes, please.
Dimov is going to have dropped off the back there. If you want to catch that quickly, Simon, he's just out of that fray. He just saved the most monstrous of slides there, really. His exit coming out of here, he was right on the tail of the two cars in front of him, and he just went and caught too much curb, I think, or some grass or something. A bit of grass. It just
oh my goodness, put that on a highlight reel. That was so good. What a save, young man.
Awesome stuff.
I think,
yes,
he saves the car. I don't think he's gonna save himself catching up to that battle in front of him. He was struggling to keep Ratz at bay previously, and Ratz gonna continue up in front there to chase down on Zeman. Looks like Ratz struggling to keep the back end of that Mercedes in control as well, as these conditions continue to rain down and continue to make things wetter as we get darker. And ACC just has some brilliant light design. So for those that haven't actually played the game, that immersion of seeing the lights and the spray and what's coming off here is just incredible. as Samuel Ratz just closes down the gap onto the back of Zeman through the S's and just looks for any opportunity to obviously stay on the back of that Aston Martin towards that second sector of the track. Through here, you just want to keep things as clean and tidy as possible. Obviously, coming through the back end of Dunlop here, you don't want to get too early onto the accelerator. We've seen cars lose it here before, but just look at how he is going to hold on through this fast right-hander, and what a beautiful camera angle to watch this. The undercut coming on the inside from Rats. He's going to have a look-see on the inside. Rats could have got it done, but they will go alongside the drag coming out. The Aston Martin pulls away, and before the hairpin, Zeman will defend against Rats again. Rats has had some great exits coming out of this hairpin though, and will he have another great one here? It looks like he has had a good one. It hasn't been great enough. Zeman is going to defend coming into Spoon once again. Brilliant bit of driving coming out from both these drivers.
It's absolutely amazing. Obviously, and obviously great commentary there, George. You know, awesome stuff on the right on the nail there. So, yeah, amazing to see what's going on so far. I mean, I did call it earlier on. I said usually the last sort of 20 minutes of the race do really get mixed up, and we can see there's some other battles going on a bit further down the field as well. So we might have to jump over to P12 in a minute. We'll have a quick look, but it looks like this battle here is still on. So, yes, looks like there is a few battles starting to materialise now. So, like I said, every time with these red line races, we always seem to have a big accident.
Oh, big drama there as Samuel Ratz goes for the inside-out fake-out move, and somehow he hits the wall. I don't know exactly what happened, if he hit the apron or he just sort of lost it weaving, but he's back on it now as they're side by side in the chicane. Ratz thinks better of it, falls back into line. He's going to have to gather himself back up and make another charge at it with 9 minutes to go, but some very, very high drama there before they get to, was that 190R, right?
I believe it was, yes. So just having a quick pan down through the grid at the moment to see what else we can capture.
I think, I mean, Zeman seemed to coming. I'm a little bit shook inside because that was gonna be
me too.
The greatest battle. Zeman just kind of closed that gap off coming down to 130R, and I can't believe, I'm a little bit just.
Take a minute, George. Take a minute.
Rats bounced off the wall. Somehow came back. I don't know what damage has been done to his car, so we'll have to observe that as well. But yeah, I'm a little bit shooketh. Just crazy things can happen in wet weather races, man.
Absolutely. I mean, the grid is pretty mixed up at the moment, isn't it, with these conditions? You know, it's really sort of taking its toll on some of the drivers here for sure. We have lost quite a few drivers from this race. We've obviously had the very early starts with people going into the walls and stuff, and obviously hitting these big puddles. But obviously, as the race has obviously played out, the guys are starting to learn where these puddles are, where to avoid, where to put their car to, what curves they can obviously ride on. Yeah, to obviously gain these positions, but obviously we'll just stay with the leader for a minute. So Santoro is currently still holding P1. It looks like he's about 18 seconds ahead of P2 at the moment, so doing an absolute awesome job in the Aston. I was going to say, I don't actually see if he actually pitted or not. Did he pit earlier on or not? I don't think he's actually gone in for a pit stop.
You know what? Your car doesn't use too much fuel in these wet conditions. I mean, you can really extend those fuel limits, right?
Yes.
I would be shocked if he's extended it this long without a pit stop. But I mean,
battle back on again. Well, let's with Samuel Ratz.
Yeah, Rat's just not giving up here at all. Gonna have another look down to 130R. This is where he almost completely lost his race earlier. Gonna go on the inside line, coming up to the chicane. I think he's got it done here. What a move coming out over Zeman. Zeman tried to defend way too hard, and Rats finds a way through. They'll go through Casio chicane. Zeman has lost out there, and Rats with a brilliant little bit of driving with a car that potentially is a bit damaged after taking a massive slam to the right side. But great bit of driving with 6 minutes 30 left on the clock.
Yeah, amazing stuff to see this happen. Obviously, this later on into the race. Great to see still some battles, I said, especially with these conditions. You know, I said we've got a lot of drivers mixed up with, you know, even I think the top 10 are probably actually mixed up with a lap behind the leader and stuff like that. So, yeah, lots gone on with this 90-minute race. But yeah, it's definitely something we're going to be obviously taking away and collecting data from this and trying to see how we can improve the conditions for the 12-hour race. So we can still have rain, but obviously not as much as we got today. If it says 80% rain, 80% wet track, 15 degrees still, so it's been pretty set for the whole duration. So yeah, it's not a lot of change, unfortunately. I was hoping for it's going to dry up a bit later on, but yeah, it's pretty much been like this for the whole race.
I was just going to talk about Bruno Cadio is running in 8th place. He looks like he's just disconnected. He just drove straight off of the screen on my side. So I think that's going to change up the top 10. He was running in 8th, but that will change up the top 10.
Yeah, I think he's South African as well.
He is one of my South African drivers, correct?
Yes, right, yeah. So that's a bit of a shame to see him obviously get disconnected. Hopefully it's not just an internet problem or something. Yeah, big shame to see
I think it might have just been an internet thing, but was having a great drive there. Unfortunately, those things happen, but that's afforded some other guys some opportunities to jump up a position right here at the end of the race. 5 minutes left to go.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, I was expecting a bit more action at this point of time. It looks like it's sort of quietened down now, hasn't it, for the last 4 minutes? So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I was hoping to get a lot more action, but I think because of the weather and the way that some people have actually gone for pits and others haven't, it's really sort of mixed open, or pretty much opened up a lot of gaps here. So, might be pretty much a quiet 4.5 minutes. But saying that, I mean, what we saw earlier on, I mean, Samuel Ratz and that lot, they were pretty much a good sort of 3 seconds away from each other, and the next minute, boom, he was right on top of the other driver. So we never know, we might get some action going again shortly, but what we'll do for the minute, we will just stay on board with the race leader, who has just gone overtaken the back marker there.
Yeah, Santoro has just had the sorry, Jesse, you can talk about things now, but I mean, Santoro has just had such a phenomenal race. We talked about those drivers that may just love rain races, and it looks like Santoro here doesn't even know that it's raining, really. It seems to have woken up in a dream wonderland at Suzuka and just run away with things, really.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a very, very good job here, hasn't he, in the rain, so good to see he's obviously put the practice in to obviously get this setup dialed in for these severe rain conditions. So like I said, hopefully, I mean, this is going to be very interesting to see how they obviously go in the 12-hour race as well, because I said the conditions will be a lot or less worse, should we call it. So we'll hopefully only look for even 40% rain at the most is what we're trying to aim for. So obviously it still mixes things up, but yeah, ideally if we could try and get a bit of rain, make it go dry, just mix it up a bit, so the guys will have to obviously change from wet to slick tyres. But also we have got stop and go penalty there. I just saw that popped out for something there. Yeah, we have got a very limited tyre set for the 12 hours, so I believe we're actually limited to, I believe it was 9 or 10 sets. I think it might be 9 sets, I'll have to double check. So
sorry?
Yes, come on.
Car number 58 just got a 10-second stop and go penalty for an unsafe rejoin on the track and hitting Jardia with that one.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Jardia is still currently P3, so he's done pretty well this race as well. Jardia holding P3 of that. I'm just seeing where Chris Hokie is. He had his pit stop earlier on. Whereabouts on my list? Is he retired? He has retired. Looks like he's been retired to the pits earlier on. Bit of a shame to see.
So yeah, that is very unfortunate, Simon, because I was following his pit stop, and to my knowledge, he exited pit road and his outlap was fine. But yes, since then, he has disappeared from the running order, and that's an unfortunate retirement because he was one of the drivers that had driven their way well into the top 10, in fact, running in 7th place at one point, and would have been interested to see what he could have done. Otherwise, as guys, 5th place has a penalty, so I expect Fabian to come back any time now and tell me why that is. Fabian?
Car number 21 just got a drive-through penalty for causing a collision.
Oh, well, there you have it. Some penalties being handed out late in the race, and oh my goodness, you see in the background a car going a little bit off there as we follow the 10th place car of Yefanov in the 337 Ferrari. I like that livery as well. Very nice. The blue and the yellow really go together with that, and just a war of trying to get to the end of this race now, gentlemen. It's about trying to not make any mistakes. And as I was going to say earlier about Santoro, it's ultimately important for him with having a 13-second lead to win passing a lot of these lap cars. And you see several behind him, and I'm sure you'll see a few in front of him. It's for him, it's about not putting yourself in a position to lose this race. He's done everything right.
Oh, hang on a minute. What's happened here?
Whoa. Have servers dropped?
It looks like we've lost connection. That's very interesting. So I think this might be because our server is connected to a very big company called AVH. So we are. So if our server's gone down, I'm wondering if other people have actually been disconnected, because obviously we're part of this big server network where Amazon uses their AWS servers. So that's very interesting to see that we just lost the race there, unfortunately. So I don't know what's actually happened. But I'll have to quickly find out for you guys. Just grab a quick look at the server and find out exactly what's going on. See if I can just return to garage and see if I can jump back in the actual thing. But I don't know what's actually happened here. Now that is very interesting.
Strange, with 30 seconds to go at the end. I mean, it was pretty much the last lap, right?
It was, yes. I don't know what's actually happened. Something very strange has gone on, like I say. So just have a quick look at the
I've still got the running order up for you if you want to know where things were in the last 30 seconds for the stream in terms of positioning. I mean, these would have been where people would have finished, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can run through the list. It looks like there wouldn't have been much change in that last lap anyway. But yeah, if you want to run through the order of what the positions would have been, that would be absolutely awesome there. So I'll just turn down the audio volume so you can also go through that with.
Yeah, I mean, I can see
that, George.
I can see from 1st to 24th here on my screen without exiting. So it's Santoro 1st, Stankiao 2nd, sorry for butchering your name, Hanzik Jardia 3rd, Rats 4th, Dimov 5th, 06th, Zierman 7th, 8th, and Yuvrev, 9th, Varga, 10th, Yevanov, 11th, Lightman, 12th, Vale, 13th, Vanderbilt, 14th, Stiven, 15th, Erbech, 16th, Samuel, 17th, Quick, 18th, Saklari, 19th, Sadowski, 20th, Baintener, 21st, Labrukri, 22nd, Matushka, 23rd, Rovert, and 24th, Huki. So those are the drivers that I can all see on screen. So that's your 1st to 24th in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, incidentally, George, that is the majority. That is all of the finishers. Everybody beyond that point, it should be said, did not see the checkered flag of this race, meaning that they came to pit road at some other time and parked their cars. But a bit of an unfortunate end, but everything seemed to be set in stone anyway, and those results, of course, that is what happened here today. And just an interesting race in my mind of bad weather, great drivers, and some absolutely fantastic racing. Just I wouldn't have expected that race to come off that well and to have so many nice passes, especially some on the outside of corners. But excellent battles in very tough conditions, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, really apologise. Don't know what actually happened there at the end of the race. So we all just got literally kicked out. Looks like the other servers are running, so I don't know what is going on with our main server there. Because the other lobbies, the other 3 splits are still running. I'm just sort of connected onto our server there, so I don't know. We'll have to go through the server logs and find out what's actually happened. But so the other 3 splits are still running currently, which is a big shame, unfortunately. I mean, I guess obviously this obviously day and age at the moment, obviously everyone is using the internet a lot, and obviously a lot of the main servers like Twitch and YouTube and stuff have been sort of suffering, as well as obviously other sort of things. So yeah, unfortunately I think we're just in that sort of time at the moment where resources are really getting hammered, and obviously the stability of obviously the internet is not going to be there. So yeah, I do apologise obviously what's happened there, but that was obviously what George has just read off there for the the order, that will be the actual finish order we're going to go with, obviously, because it was on the very final lap there, so we do apologise for that. But anyway, thanks for obviously coming along, guys. Really appreciate you obviously being here and obviously watching this race up to this point. Yes, we will be back on Monday with the Porsche Cup event. That's the final round of that championship. They will also be back on next weekend, I believe it is. Yes, next weekend, the 11th, will be the Super Pole for the 12-hour race. So that's going to be awesome to watch as well. So we're streaming that one. That'll be 2 p.m. BST. So do come in and stay tuned for that. That'll probably last for about sort of an hour, 90 minutes, depending on how quick we get through the order of the car. So everyone's going to get literally one warm-up lap and one shot hot lap. That's going to set the order for the 18th for the 12-hour race. So do check that out. And then I said, obviously, we've got the big 12-hour race on the 18th at 12 noon. So that's BST. And yeah, we'll see you then, guys. So yeah, again, appreciate everything you've obviously coming on, obviously subscribing, following us and all that sort of stuff. And obviously thanks to George and Jesse for obviously coming on to commentate, and Fabian and Vicky in the background there doing the live stewarding as well. So thanks so much for all your help there, guys. Yeah, anything that you guys want to quickly say?
I just want to say thanks for having me, JC, Simon. Always great to do this with you guys. So
I was just,
I
was just going to quickly say as well before we go is obviously I totally forgot we've got our main event tomorrow as well. So we've got
awesome thinking, Simon.
I don't know. Obviously, we didn't expect to obviously have this issue today, but yes, we have this. We have a real. We've got a lot of GT drivers. We've got a Formula driver in. We've got some retired real life drivers. There's a few esport drivers and YouTubers and stuff in tomorrow's race. So that's going to be broadcasted tomorrow, at 3 p.m. BST. So do come and check for that. That's going to be pretty awesome. We've got Chris Hay with us tomorrow to help with the broadcasting. So he's going to be commentating with us. So yeah, do stay tuned for that one. It's going to be pretty awesome. Otherwise, thank you very much for sticking around, and we will see you tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.